What's the creepiest thing you've seen your pet do? I once woke up in the middle of the night and saw a large black figure standing over me. I was freaked the frick out and yelled at it, only to see the shape of ears perk up on this figure and it jumped up onto my bed. Turns out to be my dog, who had been standing on the ground with his paws on the bed, standing over me and watching me sleep. He was watching you like the good boy he is. My grandmother had a psycho cat that hated me. One day this cat jumped up on a shelf that contained picture frames of each of my cousins. That cat looked me in the eye as it batted my picture off the shelf but left the other ones in place. She then jumped down and walked away, watching me as she passed. No one will ever believe you. My sister tried bathing our bird but accidentally turned on the hot water. He noticed and stared her dead in the eyes for a minute. Misread and thought the bird died. Our black cat used to puff himself up in front of the mirror. My wife and I refer to it as Halloween cat. Stiffen his legs and bounce back and forth toward and away from the mirror. It's not exactly creepy, but waking up at 2:45 am and seeing a little silhouette bouncing back and forth on the floor is scary for those first couple of seconds when you're waking up. This made me laugh. I can't get over it when all pets in the room suddenly stare at the same vacant corner and then start freaking out. Not cool. If they're cats, they probably see a bug speck of dust. If they're dogs, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. She, a cat, keeps insects on the brink of survival. They basically give up on life but are still alive, so they just lay there. Whenever I see a dead bug in her spot I poke at it and 90% of the time it springs to life. Our cat just wants her own pets, I guess. That's kinda fricked up, lol. My dog does this thing that I call billicating, which is basically where you think he's in one area and he's actually not. He somehow managed to stealth past you without you noticing. An example of this is you may think he's outside sleeping in the garden because that's where you last saw him. Yet you go to the toilet and find him sleeping in the hallway and you've been in the living room the whole time and you didn't see or hear him go by. I guess this is common with a small breed of dog. Bitty's a fairly large husky and we have tiled flooring and you can hear the clipping of his claws on the floor when he passes. It freaks me out when he does this. I swear he's teleporting. He must have found an entry to the cat dimension. She will sit up in her sleep and howl. I don't know if you've ever had a Great Dane howl at 3 am right next to your ear, but it's pretty goddamn frightening. I have a Dane. She's only ever done this once in all 7 years we've had her, but dang was it unsettling. Sometimes my dog will literally just stare into an empty corner of a room and turn her head from side to side. She doesn't break her gaze unless you physically force her to turn her head. If you approach her from behind while she's starting at the corner and startle her, she viciously lashes out and bites. She is an otherwise peaceful animal. It makes me wonder if she can see something that I can't that is threatening. Obviously that corner is haunted by a demon. My cat can open doors if they aren't fully latched. I woke up one night and she had opened the door while a guest was pooping and wouldn't let them close it. Thankfully the toilet was right there so she didn't just swing it all the way. Had to call her away because all she did was paw at them and make a screechy sound. I got up early one morning because of a nightmare and turned to look out my window to discover two eyes reflecting back. I just about crapped myself and ran out of the room at full tilt. That was the day I discovered that my dog could get out of the yard and that he used the freedom to watch me sleep. This squirrel used to mock my cat Chester for many months just outside the window, on a low-hanging tree branch. This frickin' squirrel would chatter and snicker at the cat and snap its tail. While Chester was patient, he waited for his opportunity to attack and finally one summer day I get home from work and there's the fricking squirrel brutally eviscerated and left on our porch with its head hanging from a wire-like muscle in its neck or shoulder. My cat was waiting patiently to be let in, licking his paws and purring over this massive squirrel corpse. When I was cleaning the carcass up off the porch I realized that the cat had eaten its privates, ripped a huge hole in the animal right between its hindquarters. Later that year Chester got out again and never returned, presumably to hunt down every last squirrel in our neighborhood. For the rest of his life, up until the fall months he would still bring carcasses and drop them on our porch, but I never saw him waiting to get in, and when the snow started flying the carcasses stopped showing up. We looked everywhere for him. Put up many a flyer and tried desperately to get him to come home, but I guess he met his doom somewhere in the nearby forest. He's in Valhalla now. I have a blind Doberman that does something my wife and I refer to as Chutter. Now he has one semi-formed eye, but the other one just never came in. There is a flesh patch where his left eye should be. Every now and again when he smells something he really likes, he'll chutter. This is when he exhales like a serial killer and clicks his front teeth together quickly and pulls his front lips back. He'll do this after smelling used tampons in the trash, sniffing your crotch, or in the middle of the night when you are most vulnerable. It's freaking unsettling. I think my chickens are unionized. At random times in the day, one of them will suddenly cluck and the rest will go running into the laying booth, where they will all randomly sit in the corner, out of sight. I think they are plotting a socialist revolution in there. Also, don't even think of going in there. One big brown one likes to show dominance and jumps on you. Crap, you found the Lenin of the chickens. I regularly wake up to my cat standing on my chest staring at my face point blank. Not sure if he wants breakfast or is considering smothering me in my sleep. Only time will tell. He wants breakfast and he is considering you as one. About a month after my fiancée and I moved into our new house, our dog got up from her bed in the living room from a fairly deep sleep and proceeded to stare intensely into our guest bedroom in full alert mode. After a minute or so of that, I paused the TV to see what she was doing. She stood up, barked, which was a big deal because she's a retired racing greyhound, and it is extremely rare for them to bark at all. Then trotted in the room and stared at the corner. My fiancée had gone to bed before all of this happened and I didn't want to worry her, so I quietly flipped on all the lights in the guest bedroom, checked the entire room for anything at all, but I didn't find a thing. Not even a bug or any sign of a disturbance outside. Nothing. Then she just went back to her bed and kept an eye on the room for the rest of the evening. I didn't sleep well that night and my fiancée still doesn't know about it. I brought my boyfriend home for Thanksgiving and he got to meet my dog Cody. Cody's a staffy mix and really sweet and playful and dumb, so he took to this new human instantly. My parents' house backs up into a wooded hill and isn't fenced, so we keep him on a lead when he's outside. I let him out one day when we were left alone in the house and wanted to fool around and he immediately bolted to the woods and made it to the tree line before his lead stopped him. He starts growling and snapping at something, and don't think anything of it but assume he's seen a squirrel or something in the woods. Call him a stupid dog, and go inside. About an hour later we went to go bring him inside and he's still standing watch, growling at the woods. I call him and he won't come, but then my boyfriend called him and he bolted back, nuzzled his hand, and stood protectively in front of him and resumed growling towards the woods. An hour or so later we started getting texts from his batshit abusive ex, including pictures of us letting the dog back in. He had sensed this guy was in the woods and went to guard against him, and then went to protect my boyfriend because he knew he was there to frick with him. For the rest of the week he would sleep at his feet, and if we walked him he would walk bumped up against his thighs. Dogs are amazing. My cat used to excessively meow at nothing when he was a kitten at night, which is pretty normal, but in his case it looked like he was staring at someone and meowing directly at them. It used to creep me out cause, you know, ghosts. My dog was recently attacked by another dog. For this reason, she now has to wear a cone on her head to keep her from biting and licking her wound. She was having trouble acclimating herself to the cone, kept hitting her bowls and walls with it. The first night she had the cone on, I was woken up in the middle of the night with the wide end of the cone around my face and my dog's head inches from me. She looked very startled that I woke up. If the cone didn't hit me, I wouldn't have known. It makes me wonder if she does this frequently. It has not happened since, but she has also become much more skilled at navigating the cone around things. She wears the cone of shame. I had a pit bull that would chew the right eye out of every chew toy or doll my daughter would leave within reach. Always thought that was peculiar. My old cat stared constantly. It was kind of cute during the day, but it's pretty uncomfortable to wake up in the middle of the night with a completely black 20-year-old cat staring into your soul. My new cat just yowls like she's possessed at 3 AM. My parents' dog shat on the floor and then scraped his nose on the carpet around it until he was bleeding and left trails of blood radiating out from the turd on every side. You know the way a kid will draw a sun as a circle with lines coming out of it? Picture that except with dog crap and blood. My dog will slowly push the door open to the bathroom if it's not locked, then slowly back out and will check again the same way. I lock the door now. My dog does that to my bedroom door. It's hilariously weird. I sleep during the day and my SO will pull the door mostly shut. She just walks up, nudges it, locks eyes with you, then backs out slowly. My dad had scared our dog while vacuuming the previous day. Our dog hates loud sounds, and the next day while my dad was on the couch watching TV, our dog just walked over, farted on him, and walked away. Not necessarily creepy, but kind of weird and funny. I was giving my boyfriend at the time a handy and he was sitting there staring at us from the hallway. Had to shut the door. I had 2 hamsters, both named Hamster. Frick off, I was 4 years old. One day Hamster ate Hamster then got too fat to move and died. Hamster ate Hamster only for Hamster to kill Hamster from Hamster's stomach. I awoke one morning, probably Saturday, to the noise of a swishing sound in other parts of the house. My bedroom door was closed, and the bedroom is on the 2nd floor of the house. It sounded like the swishing sound was downstairs most of the time, but occasionally would come up the stairs and into the back bedroom, before going back downstairs again. It was pretty spooky. I should mention that I also had problems several years before with appliances turning on by themselves. I later figured out the appliances had bad timing motors that would run when the appliance's knobs were in the off position. I also had a side gate to the backyard open by itself dozens of times, never figured that one out. On another time I awoke one morning to the sound of a large dog barking in the attic. Talk about freaky. I cautiously went up into the attic and found the bearings on one of the rotating vents had worn out, and it was making a sound exactly like a barking dog. Sort of a sound constantly, varying a bit with the speed of the wind. To top it all off, I had recently found out that the husband of the previous owner died falling off the roof, so the possibility of poltergeists were on my mind. I finally decided I had to do something about the noise, for who knows what it was. Maybe a bird had broken in through a window or something. We have red-tailed hawks around here. I opened my bedroom door and stepped out into the hall, but not as far as the 90-degree turn to go down the stairs. I could hear the swishing sound moving around downstairs. Suddenly, it sounded like it was coming up the stairs. I braced myself, and my cat Rocket came flying past with a plastic grocery bag handle over his head as he raced into the back bedroom. I managed to corral him, and took the bag off his head. His heart was racing and I'm sure he was in a panic. He calmed down, but I imagine he hated plastic grocery bags from there on out. I think he was probably rooting around in a trash can, which I often line with grocery bags, for a used fabric softener sheet. I soon learned to put those away where he couldn't find them, because he liked to eat them. Still, one would occasionally stick to clothes, and he was good at finding those, too. He's deceased now, probably in a nice place without grocery bags, but with an endless supply of fabric softener sheets, nicely torn into thirds. Ugh, I hate when this happens. The other cats freak out like crazy, though. It's sort of funny seeing all those puff tails. I had a cat years ago that would sit in front of the closet door in my bedroom and just stare at it for long periods of time. That was pretty weird but easy enough to explain. So, I went to the door and picked her up. Everything was cool but she was still staring intently at the door. The second I opened it to reveal an empty-ish closet, I had some shoes and a few things hanging up. She hissed. Her hair stood on end, and then she bolted. She kept staring at the door until she died. Sometimes when I'm home alone my dog would eerily stand up, stare up the stairs for a minute. No barking or noise, just stare. It's extremely odd cause I always feel like someone's there. Before my daughter was born I had an awesome Dale Earnhardt Jr. Star Wars computer room library. When my firstborn came we converted it to a nursery. One day while no one was home the dog climbed into my newborn daughter's crib and took a giant crap right in the middle of it. The crib was placed where the dog's bed used to be and it was a pretty clear message as to what the dog thought about the new invader. I had 2 male cats, I was also getting ready to have a baby. We got the new crib in. The males proceeded to fight in it like it was a boxing arena. Had me worried first. So when he was born they were not allowed in the room for a few months. So we had a screen door for a while. My dog, a pug puppy, will play with a toy and then randomly stop, look up at the corner of my apartment and start barking while backing away slowly until he hides under my couch for about 10 minutes. First time he did that I figured I was about to get murdered. She started drowning mice. The first time she caught a mouse, we weren't really sure what to do, but a relative suggested we drown it in front of the cat while praising her loudly, so she would know she did a good thing, but also to show her the mouse was dead and gone. And then the next day she caught another mouse. She took it to the same room and drowned it in her water bowl, left it floating until my husband saw it, and then purred loudly at him. She caught another mouse, and this one she drowned and then brought it to me to show off. We no longer have mice and she does it to her toys now. I eventually found out that this is a pretty normal cat thing, the prey drowning, but for that first little while I thought we had a creepy kitty serial killer on our hands. I mean, what did you expect? You showed her not only was it acceptable but a good thing to do, but I mean no mice, so sin. I used to have a cat named Jude when I used to live by myself. I got up from my computer one day to run to the restroom. When I came back I found his treats, which had been on the kitchen counter, in my chair, him across the room on the couch pointedly not looking at me. My dog was barking towards the corridor for no specific reason. No matter what I'd do she wouldn't stop. This went on for the whole night. Next morning they call me, my aunt is dead. It still gives me the chills thinking about it. Was it a coincidence? I don't know. What the frick? We have a female cat and 2 male cats, none of which are related. The female cat, who we got as an adult and is a few years older than either male, walked into the living room and was looking around. The youngest male cat walked in behind her, looked over at me with narrow eyes and then turned and smacked at the female cat's butt a few times, not actually hitting it. He then looked back at me to make sure I saw it. I don't know if you count this as creepy, but when I come home from work I always ask the empty house, "Where's my friend? How was your day?" And somewhere in the house my runty cat will come scampering up to me and start meowing in long phrases. He even replies with meows when I ask him how his day is again. I find it kind of relieving to be able to kind of talk to my pet like that, but it could be construed as creepy. It's adorable. I won't hear otherwise. I have a blind dog that will sneak out of the bedroom sometimes at night and will walk around the house as if she is patrolling it. She may be blind, but she isn't deaf and she's got a nose. She probably is patrolling. My old dog used to do this. It was sad when she got older. She got a little senile, so she would forget that she had already completed her patrol and would insist on going out to inspect again. Our family dog was obsessed with light spots and shadows on the walls and ceilings, but only at night and only in this one room of the house. She'd just stare, fixated at light streaks in the basement at night. Hard to get her to move or look away. Creeped me out. My dog Morty woke me up once. He was outside my door barking and growling. I was worried someone got in the house. He's just going nuts at something and I can hear he's right up against the door. So I get my naked butt out of bed, grab my baseball bat. I was hoping my boobs would distract any intruder long enough for me to bop them on the head with my bat. I opened the door to check. He's barking and growling at nothing at all. No one was in the house. All the doors were locked. No evidence of an animal or thing. I went from basement to attic. No sign of anyone. He slept outside my door the rest of the night. I was hoping my boobs would distract any intruder long enough for me to bop them on the head with my bat. I like the way you think. Princess Bob loved to leave half of mice on the floor. I stepped on one. It was freaking awful. Lily, my dog, will randomly whine and get up next to me and guard me. There is usually no reason for her to do it. My oldest cat tried to rape our middle cat when the youngest was waiting to be fixed. Luckily after the youngest was fixed he wasn't throwing out hormones and the eldest stopped his rapacious ways. He humps fuzzy blankets for hours doing this weird butt twitch thing. He also wants to keep any shrews or mice he finds, but as his babies. He runs away from the other two that want to kill it like run little friend I'll save you. It's kind of cute but odd. Ha 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 ha, while that is cute, I would be pee if my cat wouldn't kill a dang mouse and would actually save it. My cat downloads instructions from the fireplace in the middle of the night, just sits in front of it and dongs his head occasionally for about 10 minutes. Turn it. Live in the city, walks go past dozens of stores every time we're out. My dog that was super friendly, but on 2 occasions he went all growing, snapping, and snarling at a mannequin in a store window with several on display. He was only bothered by one of them. Weeks later he went at the same mannequin again. Mannequin part 2. My GF has a pug with a massive underbite to the point where if he's just chillin' sometimes his tongue sticks out of his underbite. Well, one day it was out a bit and I grabbed it and pulled it out a good 2 or 3 inches and he just left it out. Didn't pull it back in his mouth. Nothing. This is honestly the most disturbing response yet. I'm in tears. We were visiting my family to bury my grandfather's ashes and were staying with my grandmother. The nights before we buried him his ashes were still in his old bedroom and my dog would not stop growling every night. The nights after we buried him my dog stopped growling and slept fine. Kinda creeped me out. This was a couple of years ago, and I lived with my parents back then. This was also out in the country. My dog, who is a rather small dachshund whippet cross, used to insist on going outside in the middle of the night, every night. This was maybe January, I think, so it was cold. I took him, let him outside, and went to eat a cookie while waiting on him. I have really good eyes, and I knew the house pretty well, so I wouldn't typically turn on any lights. I'd just be blind when I turned them back off anyway, and it would be harder to get back to my room. Pretty soon, I heard scratching at the door, which was unusual, but hey, it's the middle of the night, it's cold, IDK, whatever. So I go and open the door a few inches, and there's this crashing noise as the door is ripped out of my hand and comes all the way open really hard. This big, black, 8-legged shape barrels in, and I start screaming, go backwards, trip on a shoe, and turn on the light. It's my dog with my dad's big coon dog on top of him. She wanted in because it was cold. I thought I was being attacked by a giant spider and it was the end times, but nope, just Waddles with Mitchin on his tail. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.